Welcome to Strongbrook Radio, leveling up with today's thought leaders. What you're about to hear are powerful insights, entertaining stories, and life-changing principles from some of the most innovative minds in the world today. This is Strongbrook Radio. All right, well, welcome everybody. Again, this is Stephen Michael Miller with Strongbrook Radio. So glad to have everyone here tuning in again. If this is your first time, however, I want to say a huge welcome to you. So glad to have you here with us and joining the Strongbrook family. We are so passionate about what we're doing here in giving information to individuals to help them truly change their lives. And so if this is your first time tuning in, I just want to say welcome. Make sure you've got something prepared for yourself. Make sure you got a pen and paper, or you've got a computer or an iPad or whatever you use to take notes, because we are going to be going over some information that you will be able to implement literally today. Things that you can take right now and put into practice so that you can start seeing the results that you've always wanted to see. This is really what Strongbrook Radio is all about. Now, we are so blessed because we get to interview individuals that are some of the top leaders in their industries, individuals that are making massive waves in what it is that they're bringing about to the world. And we get to interview them. We get to get real for a moment, really just kind of open up their minds and see how they work, because the reality of what they've been able to do is they've been able to find solutions to problems that oftentimes we all face. And now they are here to teach us how to overcome those, or to implement some of the solutions to those problems. So I'm so excited for what we've got here going on today. And I'll tell you, first of all, as every week, we get to just talk with some amazing individuals that have got phenomenal backgrounds. Today is no different. I've got a gentleman that I've got to know over the past many years, who is a great friend of mine. Someone that I've been working with actually here at Strongbrook for a number of years. And this is a gentleman I want to give a proper introduction to, a gentleman by the name of Anthony Andelin. And Anthony Andelin has been involved with us for 7 years now. He's worked with over 3,000 clients one-on-one, with net worths ranging from $1 million to $30 million in assets. He's been Strongbrook's top project manager for the last 2.5 years, and he focuses his work on generating results for the client for any kind of investment that they're looking to really put their money into. He wants to make sure that what they're doing is a wise investment for them, of course. And so he focuses on putting them in their proper place, making sure that what they're doing is the right thing, and connecting them with the right people as well. Now, Anthony Andelin is 36 years old. He's been married for 10 years, and he's got a 6-year-old son, a 4-year-old daughter, and a 4-month-old son. He loves to travel. He's been to 39 states and 9 countries, and he's so much more than that. I'll tell you, he is the glue of Strongbrook here, and he keeps us all doing the right thing. So, Anthony Andelin, are you there?
I am.
Awesome. Hey, great to have you here on Strongbrook Radio today. So grateful that you were able to find some time in your busy schedule. I know that you are helping so many of our Strongbrook clients to just better invest their money, really, and their time. And so I just really appreciate you taking some time with us today.
Well, thanks for the invitation. I've been excited for this opportunity and looking forward to it.
Awesome. Now, before we get started and really jump into some of the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to cover here with you today, I'd love to maybe go out on a limb here and ask you, do you have any crazy, embarrassing moments as you've been working here at Strongbrook, or anything like that any weird stories you'd like to share?
I'll go a little bit before my Strongbrook life and tell my favorite embarrassing story of my life. So I was 19 years old, just graduated high school, and I was getting ready to go on a mission for my church. And I had a broken tooth in high school that I was getting a crown put on, so I had the temporary one in place. And it just happens to be right my front middle tooth. And I got the courage finally to ask out the girl in high school, the most popular girl, the prettiest girl in my opinion. I was so excited to go on this date. And about an hour before my date started, the temporary glue on my dental implant came loose and fell out.
Oh, boy.
And so I was panicking. What do I do? I'm about to go on this awesome, amazing date. I'm wanting to create an amazing experience. And I found a way that I could kind of talk and kind of keep it in place with my tongue. And I thought, all right, I'm going to get through this date. So we went to her favorite Italian restaurant for dinner, and as we're talking, I went to open my mouth and eat my pasta, and my tooth fell right into my spaghetti. And so I'm sitting there looking like, a backwoods person would be, missing teeth. And so I got really quiet, hoping I could find it really quick and maybe kind of put on my fork, put it in my mouth and fix the situation. And finally, she just stopped and said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "All right, I just had to own up to this." So I went and smiled, and she got really embarrassed for me. And needless to say, the day didn't go very well after that. Wow. So it was an awesome experience. I learned a lot about myself. But, the key to that story is, make sure you're following your dentist's orders when you're getting dental work done.
No doubt. Oh, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Now, Anthony, one of the things that I love about you is when you speak with our clients, when you're helping them to really get the greatest results that they're looking for. Obviously, it all starts with a game plan, and I don't want to get into all of that necessarily, but one of the things that I love is your focus on their purpose, understanding why they're doing these different things.
Right.
Why is it important to you to make sure that the people that we work with understand the purpose or their why before they make any kind of decision?
I'm going to start by answering that question with a favorite quote of mine by Viktor Frankl. He was a concentration camp survivor, wrote Man's Search for Meaning, wonderful book. And he said, "The last of human freedoms is the ability to choose one's attitude in a given set of circumstances." And as people look at, especially over the last several years, we went through the recession years of 2007, 8, 9, kind of the slow recovery from 10, 11. And just in the last couple of years, people have been kind of working on creating prosperous results again. But I love that quote because it says, the ability to choose one attitude in a given set of circumstances. Maybe you had control over where someone's at financially right now. Maybe you didn't. Maybe some of the financial challenges you're facing today were outside of your control, with a bank going out of business, with a 401k that plummeted in value, with losing retirement assets, with losing value in real estate, whatever it might be. And so one of the things that is you look at, why are you doing this? Why are you looking to invest? Why are you looking to progress financially? It's so important because if you have the right purpose behind what that means for you, you can deal with some of the challenges that come your way. Strongbrook has a fantastic system for getting people to transact real estate, whether this is your very first purchase or your 100th purchase. But even then, there's still challenges that come up along the way. You might have a tenant that doesn't pay rent. You might have a pipe that bursts in the house and you have to file an insurance claim on your property. You might go several months with it going unrented. You might have, a house fire or something like that happens. And so understanding why were you investing in the first place carries you through some of those harder times where maybe you're kind of banging your shin and you're not quite clearing that hurdle and you're thinking, this is frustrating in the moment. Understanding why are you doing it? What's your purpose to it? Is it to help your family? Is it to provide a greater legacy for your family? Is it to be able to retire and live comfortably, to do service opportunities? Is it to, buy a big house and live on the beach? I'm not here to judge why they're here, but making sure that the client understands why they're here will help aid them through the successes and some of the difficult times that do come as you're executing an investment strategy.
Yeah, no doubt. And I appreciate the fact that you brought up Viktor Frankl because he, I've read that book. It's amazing. Actually, I'm trying to work my way through it in German because I speak German. And anyway, what an amazing book and the concept. And for anyone that has never read that book, really, I highly recommend it. I know Anthony, you would as well, because it really helps us to understand that no matter what our circumstances are, we are in control of our minds. We're in control of our attitudes. But what you touched on here, which I think is so important, is understanding. Is really understanding that we can choose our attitude, and knowing why we want to be there, why we're doing that. I mean, for Viktor Frankl, he was in a concentration camp, and he had to figure out the purpose for living. He looked around him, and all over the place there were people that were dying, and literally he said that he got to the point where he could tell when an inmate, when one of the concentration camp, one of the individuals in the concentration camp, he could tell when they decided that they no longer wanted to live. The moment they made that choice, he's like, we could almost to the day know when they were going to pass away. And it was that choice, that attitude, that ability to control what it is that they want to do, but they knew that why. And so he had to figure out why he wanted to live. And he did. And that really was one of the main drivers for him to be able to survive that whole ordeal and write about it afterwards.
One of the things, and I love what you just said that ties into that, in the book he mentions that the meaning for someone's life differs from person to person and from day to day and even hour to hour sometimes. And he said if you're kind of viewing life in this general grand sense, you might get lost when you hit challenges. But sometimes we have to change the meaning to a specific moment. What's my meaning for right now? And for him in that concentration camp, it was the ability to say, you know what, I've had freedoms taken away. I'm in prison. People are choosing to kind of give up. And for him, it was choosing that moment to say, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to choose to live right now. Right. And that is so empowering to me to say, it doesn't matter how bad or bleak your perspective might be. You still have the power of choice to choose what are you going to experience in that moment.
Yeah, no doubt. So what I want to do, I want to get clear on how you're able to help so many people because you have been with us for such a long time and have been able to provide so much value to the Strongbrook clients as they've moved forward. One of the things that you teach is human life value. And I think I'd like to get back to that in just a second. I just wanted to seed it here real quick and let people know that we're going to get there. But before I do, I believe that some of our greatest power comes from some of our biggest challenges. And being able to draw from the things that we learned in those kind of circumstances really helps us in a powerful way, and it allows us to affect other people's lives in a really powerful way. Would you mind talking about maybe one of the greatest challenges that you have faced and how you were able to overcome that, and maybe even how you use that now as you're helping other people?
Yeah, absolutely. And that ties in perfectly with what we're going to get into in a couple of minutes with that human life value conversation. But back when I was 22 years old, I was a sophomore in college on a Friday night getting ready to go out with some friends. And as I was going out, we were in the back seat of this car. There were 5 of us driving to a movie. My roommate who was driving as we were crossing and exiting our apartment complex, didn't see another driver coming. And that person happened to be on a date. And as he was conversing with his date, really wasn't paying attention to the road and seeing us coming. And as we were crossing that road, we were T-boned in this little sedan by this SUV going about 45 miles an hour at a straight impact. And I remember thinking as I was getting ready to go, I didn't really want to go out that night. My friends convinced me. And I've always been a pretty optimistic person. I learned that from my mom. My mom, before she passed away in 2007, went through cancer 5 times. She was in the hospital 35 times in her life. And always had this amazing positive outlook that helped her get through those kind of tough medical times. So this accident occurs, and in that moment, I feel a lot of pain. And I don't know what's going on. Some of the other people were panicked, and I thought, all right, let's just try and calm down the situation a little bit. It only took about 60 seconds for the first responders to arrive on the scene, but it took 30 minutes to cut us out and extract me out of that car. Along the way, I was in the back middle seat. They get the other passengers out. The paramedic asked me how I'm doing, and I said, well, now that everyone's gone, I said, I'm hurting here and here. I can't move. I can't breathe. And so they get me out of the car, put me in the ambulance, rushed me to the emergency hospital. It's about a mile down the road. And there were 15 people waiting for me when I got to my little room. I've since had other clients that are ER doctors and things, and they said that's kind of a bad sign to have that many people waiting for you. So I got there. They start poking you and prodding you and putting tubes in and checking this and stat this and stat that, and really just a very chaotic situation. But I was hanging on to this hope that, things are going to be okay. It's not as bad as I think it is. They rushed me to the x-ray room, and I was in the x-ray room for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Which is a long time to have pictures taken of your body.
No joke.
The result was I ended up breaking my right pelvis. I broke my sternum. I broke my left ribs. I separated my left shoulder, and I broke my left collarbone. And after I heard that, I was like, okay, well, that sucks, but I'm still hanging on to some hope. My mom came down to the hospital after she was called. And after she got there, the doctor pulled her out of the room, which also usually isn't a good sign.
Right.
And the doctor said something that really stuck with me. He said, Mrs. Andelin, there's a chance that Anthony might not ever walk again. Be prepared for that. Now, they didn't want me to hear that, but I overheard what the conversation was. And immediately, all the hope that I was hanging on to was gone. And immediately I started focusing on all my problems, on how bad life was going to suck if I couldn't walk again, about all the challenges I was going to face. And it's amazing how hope keeps open the possibilities for you to create new outcomes. But as soon as the hope's gone, the depression, the fears, the frustrations, they just mount and build upon each other. You get to a very dark place very quickly. And so they checked me up in my room. This was about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I told my mom to go home. She was trying to stay. I said, just go home. I wanted to be alone. And for the next 2 hours, I had a nurse checking on me every 15 minutes. And I couldn't even look the nurse in the eye. I just looked at the opposite wall. And my only thought process was, how can I die tonight and commit suicide because there's no point to live for tomorrow? And I was in that space for approximately 2 hours. Wow. And about 3 in the morning, I had this huge epiphany. And I said, you know what? That doctor might be right. But if I don't try, I automatically know what my outcome is going to be. But I have the power of choice to choose something different. And immediately I did this complete 180 in perspective to I was optimistic, I was positive, I was excited. And I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get past this challenge. The next morning, friends start coming in to see me. And I'm happy, we're joking, we're having a good time. It was like a little family reunion at the hospital. The doctor comes in and says, all right, Anthony, how you doing this morning? I said, you know what? I'm doing great. Now, I'm sure part of that was also a little bit of morphine, a little bit of cockiness of a 22-year-old, but it was also because I was just hyped up with, I'm going to do this. And he said, well, why are you doing great? And I said, I heard what you told my mom last night. I'm going to prove you wrong. And he said, okay. And he asked me, are you sure? And he gave me an out to say, are you sure you want to do this? And I said, yes. And he walked out of the room, and I thought, hey, I just told the doctor off. This is great. He showed up 5 minutes later with himself and 5 nurses and said, we start now. Let's get up and start walking. And immediately it's like, what are you talking about? I can't do this. I have all these challenges. I'm broken. I have these tubes in. I hurt. I'm in pain. I can't walk right now. And there's that choice again of what you're going to do in that moment. Now, the reason why he had 5 people there was to support me, to help me, to make sure I didn't fall. The fear that I was experiencing in that moment is really silly to say years later. It was I might fall down and hurt myself. Right? I might hit my broken pelvis and that'll hurt. So the reason why I had people there to support me was to catch me when I fell. I took about 1.5 little shuffle steps. I started to collapse. They caught me. I didn't hurt. They carried me back to bed. 2 hours later, they came back and said, we're doing it again. And over the course of 4 days, I'd made enough progress to be checked out of the hospital. Now, I wasn't walking yet. That took 8 months of therapy, 2 to 3 times a week, 3 to 4 hours a session to get to that point where I was 100% recovered. When I was going through that therapy process, I went every single time, but I wasn't committed every single day I went. There were days I had rough days, and it was just enough to show up. And I started thinking about, all right, how does this apply, and what am I learning from this? And I learned as you kind of look at, and we'll talk about this more in a second with human life value, but the steps that we're willing or not willing to take yield results. And you have the power to choose, just like Viktor Frankl said, what do you want to happen? What's your attitude in a given set of circumstances? And so as I look at that challenge, it was one of my greatest challenges, but also one of the greatest teaching moments and life tuitions I've had in this life to say, what do I want to create in my life?
Wow. I tell you, what a powerful lesson. And I think this is a lesson, that we can all take home. And whether we have experienced that kind of circumstance or challenge or trial or not, we can definitely learn from it. And the reality, the truth that you're talking about here, which is that we truly have choice. And I love what you said there. You said no matter what it is that we choose to do with those steps, there's going to be a result. There's going to be an outcome. Maybe I heard that wrong, or maybe I internalized that wrong, but that's kind of what I took from it, is there's going to be a result. There's going to be an outcome. Whether we choose to do something about it or choose to do nothing about it, it's going to yield an outcome. So we might as well work towards what it is that we actually want. So you train about that human life value. We've mentioned it a few times. Let's talk about what human life value is and how we can use that in our daily lives.
Yeah. So it's a concept, human life value, where you say, what is the value that I possess? And life insurance companies try and quantify this based off of income and future earning capacity on what they might cover in a death benefit, right? If you're getting a divorce, an attorney is going to look at you and say, hey, what type of earning capacity does each spouse have, and how does that impact settlements and things, right? Typically, the world focuses on the financial aspect of this, and that's part of it. But really, it's getting clear on what makes up you. What's the value that you possess? I love that quote. I forget who said it initially. I know it's been requoted many times. That said the most wealthiest place on earth are cemeteries, because there lie all the unfulfilled dreams, ambitions, companies, products, inventions that were never brought to pass. When you look at the value that you possess, it's truly an infinite number or an infinite worth. And so when you look at that and start breaking it down, you start looking at what makes up you. Many times you've heard that you're your greatest asset. You're your greatest liability. And those are both true. When you start looking at what is it that you value, what makes up you? What is it that are your greatest strengths and abilities that other people are drawn to, that create value in the marketplace, that bring compliments naturally from others? In that same introspection is also looking at what are your greatest liabilities that stand in opposition to your greatest strengths. And understanding that we were created from a sense of abundance and prosperity, not one of scarcity and lack and poverty. Those are results that are created because of choices that we make and how we choose to view ourselves. And so when I'm working with a client, understanding that, whatever results that they're trying to create with Strongbrook and real estate and using that as a vehicle to help create results, it still comes down to what value do you place on you, right? Because if you start viewing yourself as your greatest asset, and you start focusing on the areas of your life that create a high vibration within yourself, high energy, start focusing on all the things that you're greatest at instead of being depressed on all the things that we suck at, your perspective starts to change. And that starts leading into the action of our results. When you look at this action that people are willing to take into things, and this is one of the things I learned in going through this accident experience and my rehab and getting back to the point of the end result that I initially wanted, is that, to me, that there's 3 levels of action that exist, Stephen, that support your human life value. The first one is inaction. And this was a hard one for me to internalize for a while. But I learned it in those 2 hours of darkness in the hospital, in that if I don't do anything, if I'm unwilling to move or to take action, it still creates a result. And that was a huge epiphany for me.
No doubt.
And when you look at your finances, there's one of the things that came from this accident was a financial settlement. But I wasn't in a frame of mind to be a proper steward over those dollars that were returned to me. And my fear was, well, this is what I considered to be a very large sum of money at the time. I don't want to lose it. And so I didn't do anything with it. I kind of was this hoarding mentality. And guess what happened within a couple of years?
I'm guessing
it was gone.
Yeah.
Right? And I was trying to go back and think, where did this money go? And I couldn't even really track it to anything large or substantial. But when you're in this mentality of hoarding, lack, of not being willing to move, ultimately what you're going to have is lost results. The second one of those then, if you look at the second level of action, is where you kind of get into active action is what I call it. Where you fool and lie to yourself that you're doing things productively, but ultimately the results never come. For example, my first sales job was in a phone sales room doing this credit repair program when I was in college. And we were judged on, phone calls and sales. And one of the things I look back on, and it just amazes me where I was at the time, is I would have fake conversations with myself to perceive to those around me that I was busier than I was. And so I was talking on the phone. Other people thought I was really busy. And sometimes we think that busyness equals awesome results, right?
Yeah.
This is the person who goes to the gym and says, I'm paying for a gym membership, right? Which is a good action. I'm physically going every day, which is a good action. But when I get there, I'm only on the treadmill for 5 minutes warming up, then I go get a drink. I go see my friend, we talk for a minute. I do one set of bench press, then I go talk to somebody else, right? I go do one set of squats, and then I go get another drink, and then I get my protein shake and go home. I paid for the membership. I physically went to the gym, right? Maybe I broke a sweat a little bit. And you lie to yourself thinking, wow, I had this awesome workout today. 2 months down the road, you say, how come I haven't lost any weight? And it's because we lie to ourselves that the actions we're taking are what we perceive to be productive when really you're just busy and spinning your wheels and you're stuck. That leads to that last level of action, Stephen, which is what I call productive action, which is doing the steps that are necessary to create the results, right? I make those extra phone calls to get those sales. I have the extra conversations. I stay later than other people do. I get to the gym earlier. I actually stay for a full, healthy workout, right? I might have to change maybe my sphere of influence a little bit. Maybe people aren't supporting me with where I'm headed. And unfortunately, I might have to say this relationship isn't supporting me with where I'm going. Right? But you're willing to do what's necessary. And that's what productive action is. Nothing's going to stand in your way of getting what you want. Now, in my therapy, after my car accident, I never went into inactive. I always was in action. I was always doing it, right? But there were days that I just went through the motions with my therapy, which didn't yield any real results. Most of the days, though, I was in that productive frame of mind where I was able to progress and make progress and get to where I wanted to be. And so when you understand the value of who you are, the more value you perceive in yourself, the more productive action you're going to take. Because one, you're tapped into one of the greatest strengths and abilities that you have. And two, you're focused on why you're there doing it, right? That purpose that we talked about at the beginning, Stephen. And ultimately then, as you start making productive action and steps, and you're bringing on team members and people to support you, when the challenges come, you're ready to face them and move past them because it's a small hurdle in getting past that challenge to your ultimate result or reward or prize that you're working for.
Yeah, makes sense. So how do you, if you're finding yourself in inaction or you're finding yourself in active action, how do you make that jump? How do you say, okay, first of all, I think you have to probably recognize it, but how do you make that jump from active action or inaction to productive action?
That's a great question. And one of the biggest challenges in that. So you're right. First step is you have to know where you're at and actually be honest with yourself. Again, so many times we lie to ourselves to think that we're better off than we actually are. Another example early on after I got married and I was kind of venturing off into this entrepreneurship, I got down to the point where I had spent the last dime in my bank account and actually went a little negative for the first time in my entire life. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, I don't have enough to even feed myself if I wanted to get a hamburger on the way home. How am I going to take care of my new wife? How are we going to pay for this and that? And I could have lied to myself and said, oh, it'll be okay. The universe will provide. There's always a way. But I had to go to work first. So the first step is actually being honest with yourself of where it is that you're currently standing and not judging it for right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just, where am I at today? The very first thing I do with our Strongbrook clients is talk about where they at financially today, not from a place of judgment to say we have to know where we're at in order to start making progress. But then it's getting a support system around you, because if you're stuck in inactivity or in that active action phase, right, you might be doing what you know This is where hiring mentors and the Strongbrook Mentoring Network is a fabulous resource to get you to look outside of yourself to say, all right, what do I need to do differently? Hiring a coach, hiring a mentor. I look at some of the greatest athletes in the world. Michael Jordan at his peak. Tiger Woods when he was the #1 ranked golfer in the world. Baseball hitters. They all have coaches around them, and not just one or two, but 4, 5, 6, because each one sees something differently to make adjustments to achieve optimal results. One of the greatest resources our clients have at Strongbrook is a project manager who's not emotionally tied to their situation, to their finances, to what they've been doing in the past, but can say, where are we at today? Where do you want to go? How do we start taking productive steps to get there, right? It's education and learning how to leverage resources that we have in our life differently. And not just money, but time and resources and capital. And can we take some of that information and say, hey, I know Stephen Miller. And Stephen Miller, I know, is a very well-connected person. If I tapped into Stephen and let him know what I'm trying to accomplish, he might be able to help me. Or he might be able to put someone else in my path that can help me. Relationships are one of the greatest assets we have to leverage differently than we have in the past to help achieve different results. And so that's how I found what works for me, is that I need to hire people to be with me, to mentor, to allow me to start progressing and getting past my current frame of mind.
I love that. Great thoughts. Well, Anthony, we're winding down here to the end of the show, and would love to just hear maybe some final thoughts. What are some things that you'd love for people to be able to take home today to implement right away that can help them really just get closer to becoming who it is that they want to be?
Really what it comes down to is going back is what is it you want to accomplish? Getting clear on what it is you want. Second, getting clear on where you're starting from. And again, don't judge it as right or wrong or good or bad. It's just, this is where I'm at today. But having the courage to start taking action to move and get past it is so important. As you look at Strongbrook, that might be starting out with a MAP PSA. Maybe it's not the one you want yet, but it's a start, right? It's an investment in yourself. Signing up for the mentoring network is a fabulous start. It might be the most that you've ever invested in yourself at $99 a month, or signing up for the free app that you're going through and viewing on a daily basis. But that's the start that's going to start moving you out of your current circumstance. And then having the courage not to give up, Stephen. You and I have had many conversations about this. I was thinking about our last drive to Idaho that we had together, is the ability to say, you know what, I'm going to keep going. Whether because it doesn't always come easy, it doesn't always come quickly, but I'm going to keep going and persevering until I start seeing substantial results coming. When a client buys a property with Strongbrook, that one property isn't going to allow them to retire the way that they want. But it sure is a fantastic foundation to allow you to start building more down the road. And so understanding that each step and celebrate each progress that you make, because each place that you go to that you haven't been to before is the time to be celebrated because you're making additional progress and going places you've never been.
I love that. Well, Anthony, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here with us. Again, if this is your first time tuning in with Strongbrook Radio, you've been here, you've been richly fed. We've had Anthony Andelin here on the line, is one of the top coaches, project managers here at Strongbrook, has been helping thousands of individuals over the past many years to just get extraordinary results. And so I just wanted to, again, say thank you so much, Anthony, for being on the show with us today.
Thanks for having me, Stephen.
Awesome. Well, everyone else, again, if this is, if you'd like to share this, you can share it right there on the app. If you've enjoyed today's program or any other programs from Strongbrook Radio, you're welcome to share the app. It's a free share. If you don't know how to do it, let us know. We can definitely help you with that. But we're so grateful for everything that you, for listening in and tuning in with us every single week. Take some of the things that you learned today and implement them. My challenge for you is to just do something different, but not just different, do something better. And one thing that I always say, and I don't remember where I learned it from, but different isn't always better, but better is always different. So as long as you're doing something better every single day, it means that you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. You're doing different things that are going to get you into a better place. So with that, everyone, again, this is Stephen Michael Miller with Strongbrook Radio. We'll talk to you next week.